So throwing a bunch of shit into my watch later queue on Netflix, which Audrey's sister's paying for, which is awesome of her, thank you very much. One such movie that made the cut was The Bye Bye Man. Now I watched the trailer for it, which I tend not to do these days, and I got invested in what I saw. Now at the same time, I'd heard terrible things about this movie.
I just wish it was a better movie we could talk about. Me too.
But always being the one to come to my own conclusions, I decided I had to check it out for myself and see what the big deal was. I actually watched it twice, the second time with Audrey to see what her gut response would be. I think it's pretty clear with me that I'm not a bandwagoner. If I like something, I like it, whether it's popular or not. If I don't like something, I don't like it, whether it's popular or not. Now, some of you might have been a little surprised at my last review, The Conjuring, where I tore parts of that movie to shreds for its bad story decisions, and hopefully some of the points I made there rang true to you. Now, I didn't want you to not like the movie if you did like the movie. I just wanted to clearly and accurately explain what parts I had problems with and why. Whether or not you agree, that's of course up to you. But here I find myself on the opposite side of the coin and hoping I can get through to you again. But this time, I'm gonna defend The Bye Bye Man. Maybe not the whole movie, but the idea itself. Honestly, a lot of this movie is garbage, namely the characters themselves, but idea-wise, I don't think it's as bad as many people believe.
What the hell is that?
What is it?
Let's cut the shit and look at The Bye Bye Man.
I played video games in a drunken haze. I was 17 years young.
I find the opening of this movie captivating. There's an odd yet beautiful juxtaposition in the mix with the sunny outdoors and deceiving calmness of what looks like a normal, well-maintained, middle-class neighborhood. And the illusion is quickly shattered when Larry, the first character introduced to us, guns down 4 people in a matter of minutes. We're just thrust right into this too with little context. All we know is that Jane, the first woman gunned down, knew the name of someone she wasn't supposed to know, and following the trail of people she told, Larry isn't going to stop until he kills every last one of them. Now usually I bitch about this kind of thing, I know. A movie just throw me into the mix of something without any character development whatsoever, but the gravity of this situation just put me on edge and got me hyped so fast, I didn't really have many problems with it. In no way do I think this movie compares to Full Metal Jacket, but I really did feel the same kind of tension watching Larry rampage through the neighborhood the way I felt when Pyle hit his breaking point. God, even crazier, this movie does not cheap out on you when it comes to the kill shots. They're just all up close and personal. Damn. Alright, next up is the line that everyone loves to pick on.
Don't think it. Don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't even watch it.
I guess it is a little silly, but it's the idea itself that charmed me throughout this movie. And the title launches in front of an oncoming train, a running theme throughout this movie that we never quite get any real information about, but I've heard the book the movie's based on explains this, but you could have just explained it in the movie. Anyway, that bridges the 2 time periods here as the next scene shifts to 3 friends and quite possibly the main reason everybody hates this movie. They're just annoying. They're not particularly great actors, and their dialogue just goes on and on and on with a bunch of boring shit.
Cute.
Dude, this place is sweet, bro.
I'd rather watch Witch House than this.
Somebody wake me up! Don't let them burn me.
We won't be spending a lot of time on their parts. They rent a house from a weird dude, and that's about all you need to know as of now. One of the kids, Elliot, has an older brother and a niece who come to visit for a party one night. And as the niece is dicking around upstairs, she opens a tiny door on one side of the wall, which has interesting side effects. An ugly CGI devil dog thing and $50. Cool. While telling her Uncle John about the coin, he investigates the nightstand it fell from, and pulling out the drawer, finds mysterious writings inside. Now more lameness ensues here with the kids drinking and doing dick all in the kitchen until they decide they're going to have a seance, since apparently one of them's a psychic.
People have doubted me my whole life.
Maybe I shouldn't be defending this movie.
Don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it!
The Bye Bye Man.
There it is! There it is!
Jesus!
Now later that night, the radiator releases some steam, waking Elliot up to some creepy shit. I like it, okay? I don't know why. And I don't have to explain why all the time. I just like it. Some more lameness bleeds through, though, right after, as when falling back asleep, his girl calls him John, the name of the other roommate, which unsettles him. Now, unable to fall asleep now and hearing noises, Elliot heads downstairs to check things out, and... I know, he just kind of stands there in the background like, fucking E.T. not doing shit. He vanishes before the girl comes downstairs, but the strange sounds persist outside, and the next morning, Elliot investigates, finding claw marks in the bricks.
What could be strong enough to leave claw marks in solid stone?
Now suddenly, everyone is acting strange as hell, and there's an aura of paranoia surrounding them, but over what exactly, no one seems to know, but they're hearing things, they're seeing things, and they're slowly beginning to lose their minds. There was no reason at all for that camera trickery. Now later that night, the two brothers are on the phone with each other, and God is it boring.
Talk to me, buddy. What's going on?
Thank God early on I clarified. I'm defending the Bye-Bye Man himself, not the movie. Hearing more sounds, Elliot goes to investigate deep in the cellar, and finding more scratch marks and another coin. The reason I kind of like this is the whole time that damn dog, that shitty CGI dog, he was back there. He just blended in with all the bullshit. You didn't even notice it till he moved. I don't even know why I like that, honestly. Rescued by John and Sasha, the paranoia continues to ramp up and accusations fly.
For the last time, bro, we wouldn't do that to you.
Why are you lying to me?
We're not.
Jesus Christ. And what just happened, huh?
God damn, when did this turn into the real world? Eventually, Sasha reveals a journal that she scribbled a bunch of weird shit into. You know what it's gonna say. What she says after the old typical I don't remember doing that crap intrigues me, though.
It's like now that I know his name, he's coming for me. And the more I try to get rid of it, the bigger it gets.
Just dwell on that concept for a minute, really. Something so evil, so maleficent, so unholy that the mere thought of it, and much less having its name implanted inside of your head, is enough to do you in and anyone else that you so much as even whisper it to. That's kind of cool. I've never seen it done before. Probably stole it from something that I'm unaware of, but I never saw it before.
Bye-Bye Man's not real. It's just something that's in our heads.
That's real. Ideas are real.
We get more train shots next, which look cool and all, but tell me nothing. Waking to the dream of it, Elliot gets the shit scared out of him by some awful looking CGI eyeballs in the dark, and then the Bye-Bye Man himself, who still does his little pointing thing, but he's starting to pick up speed at least, so... What? Freaked out, Elliot searches... There's nothing in the address bar. Now, finding nothing, he searches the library database next for the phrase, "Don't think it, don't say it," and of course gets a match. He gets his hands on the article as his girlfriend goes to talk to the owner of the house they're renting from. If it leads anywhere, I don't really care. John heads to class and, goddamn, no joke, I got way more interested in the teacher's lecture than the scene itself.
If I were to brush a few atoms from this wall, it would still be here. It would still be here before us. It would still be the wall.
Oh, man. How many atoms could I really remove from this VHS shelf and it'd still be a VHS shelf? That's fucking deep, man. Tell me more.
You've seen me brush every single atom from this wall except for that one atom, and I point to it.
Ah, damn it. Meanwhile, Elliot is talking with the librarian about what he's found in the books. Apparently, Larry Redmond, the man we saw at the beginning of the movie, was the one who wrote all of this down. Larry's job was a reporter, and he tracked a story about a kid who killed his whole family, claiming the Bye-Bye Man made him do it. And as she tells him of the tragic day he'd gunned down 8 friends and family members, we see more scenes of it ourselves as the movie hits back with that earlier timeline. We return to the beautiful neighborhood as Larry's rampage continues mercilessly, and before killing himself by drinking Drano, good God! We see the Bye-Bye Man and his ugly dog munching away on the body. I don't know why I like it, but I like it. I know it's bad. The CGI dog is stupid and his pointing is stupid, but goddamn, the idea of him just Knowing his name is enough to bring him to you. That's frightening. Other than Larry, the librarian seems to be the only one making sense here, and after she leaves him, he takes the advice to heart, madly crossing out the names in Redmond's report. Now, with each name, the Bye-Bye Man gets closer, and god damn it, I love this scene, honestly, but just keep your head up, you jackass. Now, even the jump scare at the end is kind of cool, because it uses the reverse formula. There's a whole shitload of loud sounds, just...
What are you doing, boy?
Caught by the librarian, apparently hours later, he bolts back home, but spots John and Sasha getting a little closer to one another. Oh, what the fuck? That was so lame. That is CGI crack, too. Unsure if he's seeing things or not, he calls Kim, the friend from earlier, and asks for her help with another seance. Apparently, she has all this figured out and is possibly as deep in it as Elliot is, if not deeper, when she thinks she sees a car stuck on the train tracks, and making Elliot pull over so she can help, he discovers what she's hiding in her bag. So Elliot knows it's an illusion, but before rushing over to help her or try to stop her from running into the train, he pulls the hammer out. He's all like, "Oh my god, I don't believe it." But then he fucking runs after her with the hammer, and the train's coming, and the engineer's all... So, how would this look to you if you were that engineer? No! Yeah! You know who this motherfucker looks like at times?
Stop this train. I wanna get off and go home again.
That might be my favorite joke I have ever made. And later that night, the police investigation is underway, and still on scene, Elliot is trying to warn John and Sasha not to tell anyone the name, lest they die too, but the police officer who breaks up the fight after things get too heated takes interest in what he doesn't want them to know.
Train's engineer said that you were chasing Kim with the hammer.
I told you that looked suspicious. Now, questioned by the officer, he catches a break when it turns out Kim left behind a suicide note and confession. And trying her best to dig out the information he's hiding, he pleads to her passionately in a mother and son angle which somehow gets through to her. And knowing that he is at least innocent of the charges and maybe just a little odd, and with nothing to officially hold him on, they let him loose. Now, his brother picks him up from jail, and without explaining anything to him either, he just bolts back home, where he thinks he sees John and Sasha getting it on, but that too seems a hallucination, which he finds out when he bashes the shit out of John with a baseball bat. Now the librarian calls, wanting to visit with him about this Bye-Bye Man, which she can't get out of her mind, and he only agrees when he discovers the dresser he originally saw the writing in belonged to Larry. Somehow the librarian comes to the same conclusion as everyone else in this movie, that the only way to stop it is to kill everyone that she told it to, so I guess she's on her way to try and kill Elliot now?
I'll be there soon.
Makes sense. The killing of Elliot, at least, I guess. So Elliot is freaked out now, and after tying up John, worried that he might open his big fat mouth, he tosses the nightstand into the river outside. What the fuck did that accomplish? Now in the next scene, he's driving like a goddamn maniac while listening to a cover of Bye Bye Love in a corny attempt to try and put a different thought into his head. You know, because the song says bye bye a bunch. So many choices could have been used here.
It's the curse of the radio. Bye bye. Bye bye bye.
Hey, there's thousands more, so make your own joke over this one. Now, arriving at his destination, Miss Redford's house, who apparently is still alive because Larry never revealed the name to her, she tells him everything she remembers about that fateful day. And again, I really enjoy these scenes. The whole story of Larry is one of the best parts of this movie. And here we see his wife's reaction when she returns home the day she discovered his mind was completely gone.
I heard the name and I told Janie the name.
Now, finishing her story, Elliot feels the Bye-Bye Man getting closer as the sound of the train comes through the darkness, and its lights fill the room with an eerie glow, but with no real clue what's real and what isn't by this point, he nearly ends her life when a frightening trick is played on him.
No, it's not real. I have you now, don't I?
Corny as hell.
I've got you now. I've figured you out. I have the power, Bye-Bye Man.
Racing back to Sasha, his theory is proved correct when he drives right through one of the apparitions, this time John, and I don't know what the hell to think when seconds later he runs over the librarian, who's just standing in the middle of the fucking road. So many questions. Back at the house, John and Sasha are experiencing mindfuckery when they see one another not as they really are, but as what the Bye-Bye Man wants them to see, just as Elliot arrives home. And he just catches John, who was going to town on Sasha with a pair of scissors, mistaking her for Kim, and as an all-out brawl ensues between the two, Elliot is forced to take John's life. Come on, that was kinda good, right? It really got me. With two bodies on the floor, the lights start flickering and things get dramatic and hectic when suddenly he appears. Pulling thoughts and memories from Elliot's head with his pointy finger, he implies that his brother and his family could be the next targets, and it looks like you won't have to go far because the brother and the niece have just showed up conveniently at this particular moment or ringing the doorbell. Shit gets real intense here, and in the movie's final moment, as the Bye-Bye Man slowly moves in for his final kill, Elliot makes his choice.
I love you so much.
What is with the goddamn train? In a final moment of leftover tension, his brother is in a panic trying to locate his daughter who ran off to pee, and he finds her back in the truck. And as police arrive on scene and firefighters as well to battle the now blazing house, the same cop from earlier receives a scolding from another officer over her bad judgment.
So, this boy ran the librarian over, mutilated and murdered her children, and then killed his roommates and himself, and you had him in custody today, but you let him go?
Dad and daughter get one last moment where they make us think that she's gonna be the torch to carry on the Bye-Bye Man's legacy, but nah, that wouldn't have been lame enough. What would be even lamer? That was the Bye-Bye Man. You know? It's bad, okay? But, big old but right here. The idea of an entity, as I said earlier, that just knowing its name brings it closer. I don't know, there's something Lovecraftian about that, you know? Not in the huge, unfathomable monster, but it's a knowledge thing. Knowledge is fear. That's what I got behind the core idea. And it really made me wish that this movie was, not remade, but just, I should have just got a few lookovers. Because underneath all the bullshit in this movie, there actually might very well be, I don't want to say another Candyman, because that's totally the line of, like, you know, blasphemy. But I'm saying, the Bye-Bye Man, even with such a corny name, very well could have been terrifying had they been more careful. I hope that makes sense. Because what this really came down to is, I tried to hate this movie. I tried really hard. Just to make the review funny, I was like, no, I'm going to shit on it. But it's just a bad movie. There's a lot of them. I don't know why this one gets shat on to the degree it does. It looks good. Other than the CGI dog, you know what I mean? But when you only have one or two small CGI things like that in a movie anyway, and they're bad, it doesn't take away as much from the rest of it. It's when there's a shitload of bad CGI. So I'm willing to let it go. Maybe they didn't need the dog. They definitely didn't need the dog. But I'm trying to find something to really, really hate in this movie. I don't really hate anything. I just dislike the choices, and I love the core idea. I love that idea of an evil that you shouldn't even know the name of. So probably never watch it again though.